One of the most important concepts in allowing people to move through your funnel is to give them agency. And we talked about that earlier when we talked about psychological principles. Giving people choices means they're more likely to make a choice. You can see here that Keep does this. They say, "Hi Dekker, thanks for your interest in Keep. We're happy you're here and look forward to sharing our resources to help you solve your biggest business challenge. To get to the right place, please select a topic." So you notice they have actually 5 calls to action because there's one in the bottom here. This is a bit counterintuitive because you may have been told that when you're doing email copywriting, you should just have one call to action to maximize conversion. But with business-to-business marketing, we are not selling impulse buys. We're not just trying to persuade somebody, buy now, click, 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 right? No, we're dealing with longer time horizons, and the end goal is persuading somebody to become a customer. And that's not something that happens immediately. It happens after a series of persuasive steps that are involved. So not everything that you do is about getting them to buy. Sometimes it's just about getting them to become educated, more informed. So we have 4 different calls to action. Choose your own adventure style. And then we have another link at the bottom to move people to a further stage in the funnel, which is actually more detailed on Keep itself as product, as opposed to just general information that may be category generic. Another key thing is you always want to give people the option of moving to the next stage. So that may mean having free demo at the bottom of every email, at the bottom of every white paper. It might mean having a free consultation. It might mean sign up for a free trial. It might mean buy now, see our pricing page. So whatever that next step is you want them to take, always give it to them. Don't aggressively push the next stage. Don't assume they're ready for the next stage. Just give them the option of moving to that stage so that they have the choice. Another problem that we see in business to business is a good problem to have, which is customers or prospects that are ready to buy. Like they just need a few little questions answered, but then the salesperson and the marketing people try to funnel them through this very narrow, restricted step-by-step process. It's like, no, if I'm ready to talk about nuanced features, I'm going to make a buying decision probably in the next 2 weeks. So just let me see the product. Don't hold me back. So this is the idea of agency. And that's what we're doing here. So when somebody requests a white paper with SharpSpring, they're given the option right away. Do you want a live demo? Yes or no? Okay, it's not aggressive, but it's optional. Here, you just received an email with a video, and they're already upselling you to the next stage, which is schedule my demo. Schedule my demo. Shows up at least twice in this link. Proposify. They sent out an email this is a thank you page after requesting stated proposals. So they wrote a white paper that is applicable to the software. So it's about proposals. And proposals are very close to proposal software. So it's possible people that downloaded this are interested in proposal software. So once they download it, they're already upselling them on the thank you page. I'd like a demo. Our business proposal experts would love to show you how Proposify can skyrocket your close rate. Okay, skyrocket, they're using a lot of enthusiasm here. And cut friction from your team's sales process. Click here for a demo of Proposify in action. So it's cool. There's some brand personality here. They're using exclamation marks. It seems like a very likable company to work with. Okay, and probably the single biggest part of business-to-business copywriting when we're dealing with the funnel stage, where we're dealing with kind of internal metrics tied to the sales team, is addressing objections. There are going to be a whole host of objections about why people are not moving to the next stage or about why they're not buying, which is like the last stage, other than upselling existing customers. So an example of this is there's this software out there that's for sales automation. Outreach is one of those. SalesLoft is another. And one of the objections I would have as a marketing consultant is why would a company need marketing automation software like Marketo, but also need sales automation for emails like Outreach? So Outreach looks like they've recognized that this is an objection. So they've created content that's intro to marketing automation plus sales engagement, the ultimate power couple. So what we're trying to say is we're not competing with marketing automation. We're complementary. We work well together. Here's some copywriting to explain why. So one of the most important things is you need to do research. And there are all sorts of ways to figure out what the objections are. One of the easiest ways to do research is to simply look at the lost reason codes in your CRM, so Salesforce or whatever. If you're a small startup and maybe you're not that sophisticated, you can just ask sales about what objections customers often bring up. One of the keys to research would be paying prospects for their time to give you input. And it's not just prospects, but it's also people that have actually already been lost. They've not moved to the next stage. They're not responding to sales. Well, maybe if you give them a $50 gift card, you can find out, okay, why did they not move to the next stage and abandon your company? Another thing I'd love to do is just ask questions on Quora. You can do the same thing with Reddit and Facebook groups to figure out, okay, here's a product. Why might somebody not purchase it? And often the reasons are like these ones listed above. So why are they not trying, buying, or progressing in your funnel? It may be because of price, or they may tell you it's price, but it's actually something else. Competition. Competition's better or cheaper. So those two can be related. Timing. The huge problem in business to business is that there's a buying cycle, and they may be doing budgeting at the beginning of the year, and you're trying to sell them aggressively something now. They're not going to care. They won't respond. So, lowering your price is just not going to help. Addressing competition, who cares? It's a timing issue. Features, you just don't have the features that they want. So if that feature gets released, you want to make an announcement to the customers about that. Problem or product awareness. They just don't know enough about their problem or the product. So let's think of some examples here. So in copywriting, sometimes you ask for credit card information when people sign up for a free trial or sign up for some sort of temporary thing or to unlock some capability. And they're going to be like, why do you need my credit card? So they're not going to convert. They're not going to move to the next step. So one of the easiest ways to persuade people to do what you want is to tell them why you're asking them to do it. Put in your credit card because we can't support, we need to verify who you are, or it's so we can set up automated billing next month if you choose to do it, but don't worry, you have the option of disabling it. Or it could be, hey, no, don't worry, we're not going to automatically bill you. You have to opt in. We'll send you a reminder email to cancel your subscription, something like that. Okay, another objection. Your product won't work with my software. We'll just put out some copywriting, say, yes, it'll work with your ERP, your CRM, whatever. My developer needs to approve it. Okay, well, let's talk to your developer. Let's create some content that would help address that. My needs are too specific. Okay, well, let's talk about customers that had specific needs, and we can write a case study to convince them. My software already does that. So then you need more copy explaining why existing software doesn't actually do that, and here are the limitations. So you can see the reasons that people aren't progressing in your funnel can be numerous, and you could try to address all of these, but let's focus on the ones where you think the biggest problem is. Okay, so then it's a matter of creating content that actually addresses those. So let's say that we've gone through the data, we figured out, okay, price is the problem. Okay, so case studies that prove return on investment would be the easiest thing. Could be an ROI calculator that shows return on investment and cost savings. Okay, timing's the issue. Well, sometimes we can't do anything about that. It's just the big bureaucracies that move slowly. There's not much you can do. But you can have time-sensitive offers and automatic scheduled follow-up. So let's say their budgeting happens in December. Well, it probably won't happen in December. Let's say February. We'll send an automated email to the person saying, hey, are you interested in talking? Last time you said after when the budgeting gets started, you may be interested. And you can help work with the sales team to develop those automated one-on-one emails using tools like Outreach. All right, competition. So easy, just do some writing using comparison charts, comparing you to the competitors and what their limitations are. If there's a specific competitor that you're losing to, hone in on them. Don't waste your time with competitors that are insignificant. Features, new features announcements, as I mentioned. Product awareness. Maybe that means there needs to be a 5-minute video or a PDF brochure that talks about the product so that people are actually more informed when they go into the sales conversation. Okay, maybe it's problem awareness. Well, you can create content that is research showing how big the problem actually is. One of the things that I really want to highlight here is that not all copywriting is direct response. I know when I first started in copywriting, there was this big argument. You're either doing brand awareness marketing or you're doing direct response marketing. And the thing is that it's not that simplistic. There's not just direct response and brand awareness. There's product awareness. There's problem awareness. There's product awareness and objection handling. But the key mistake that business-to-business copywriters make is they think that everything needs to be measured. It's only worthy to send an email out if you're able to measure the click-through rate. Well, one thing that I did was I took all the emails where people had to click a link to go to a blog post or click a link to download a case study. What I did was I took all of that content, copy and pasted all the content from the case study, all the content from the blog post, put them into the emails themselves, and then I measured the pipeline generated after a quarter, and guess which one performed better? It was the nurturing emails where people didn't have to click. It was where all the nurturing content was in the emails themselves. So it's not about tricking people into clicking things and releasing information. Okay, if you need somebody's contact information, you just go and buy it. You can buy a list. Okay, that's not the hard part of marketing. The hard part of marketing is persuasion. Now, direct response makes it easier to measure. So if we look at our funnel here, it's easy to measure all of these things when you're making sure, okay, we have a specific stage that shows they're engaged. We have a specific stage to show they're qualified, and then that they've had a conversation. But this is more an outcome or a measure of success, but it's not the cause generally. The cause is more here. It's understanding where the customer is at and what they need to know in order for them to progress through here. So don't get too obsessed with trying to measure everything, because what it's going to do is it's going to force you to prioritize things that aren't empathetic and don't necessarily persuade somebody to become a customer. And that's why the close rate on leads is extremely low. Copywriting is way too focused on conversion, not focused enough on persuasion and psychology. Okay, so an example here is this video from LinkedIn showed up in my feed, and it said, in a remote world, your meaningful ways to bring your business and culture to life, learn how new employee advocacy and product features, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a video, okay, to learn more. You know, everybody tells you, oh, learn more is a terrible call to action. Well, if I'm not ready to have a conversation with sales, then what the heck am I supposed to do, right? I need to be educated. And their goal, I'm guessing, is just to generate as many views as possible, which is similar to brand awareness marketing, right? It's not getting me to sign up right now. So if you want to maximize your funnel, you need to not just think in terms of lead generation, but you need to think in terms of full funnel optimization. Okay, which brings me to one of my major points, which is that copywriting, for the most part, in business to business, in my opinion, is lead nurturing. It's not lead generation. Lead generation is a joke. Okay, I remember one of the first successful lead gen campaigns I did was I created a landing page so that in order to access the brochure for this college, you had to submit your information. And a whole bunch of people signed up for the brochure, but very few of them actually were ready to talk to a salesperson to become students. So what value is that to the business? It's nothing, right? It's just an email address. An email that hasn't been nurtured is meaningless. So that's why you as a copywriter, your number one focus is lead nurturing. It's persuading people that you've identified and targeted to get to the point where they want to buy the product. And that's a prolonged series of stages. So when you're obsessed with measurements and click-through rates and things that are easily tied to attribution, you're incentivized to create clickbait. So things that like trick people and deceive people into providing information. And then what you're going to get is people are going to give you fake emails. There's ways around that, like you can fulfill your content through email, so they have to give you a legit email, but they're going to give you a fake phone number. And the reason is they don't want to become customers. They don't want to talk to salespeople. All they want is your information. And if that's all you're doing is you're just creating information that's valuable to customers, but not valuable to the company, then you're not doing your job. Your job is to create value for customers, but it's also to create value for the company. And value for the company means paying customers. So don't confuse clickbait behavior with buying intent. To create buying intent, you often need to use channels that aren't easily measured. So this might be offline events, trade shows, speaking engagements. It might be podcasts, okay, not easy to track. It might be conversations through word of mouth that you have no idea are taking place, but you need to create campaigns regardless that convince people to do word of mouth, even if it's not trackable. Okay? Attribution is not your number one goal as a copywriter. It is results. It is paying customers. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about in this lecture is that in business to business, sometimes what we're doing is what you might call account-based marketing, which is kind of a trendy thing right now. It's actually been around for a while. And it's because there are buying decisions that are not just made by individuals or individual leads. It's actually a buying group. So as we're looking at funnel performance, what we may be tracking is multiple people in one company and how they're behaving. And often what influences those individuals is going to be different. So for example, a CEO might be persuaded by conversations about return on investment, but a CTO is only interested in security, ease of transfer, switching costs in terms of training of staff, stuff like that. And so the buying group is here. So that there's a series of concentric circles that can represent the market. And in the middle is individuals. So these are individual people's directors, VPs, C-suite, etc. They are in a buying group. So it's like a buying committee. You might call it a demand unit. And then beyond that is they exist in an account. So an account is usually a company, or maybe it's a certain regional outpost for a company, depending on how big the company is that you're targeting. Now, one of the most important things to recognize is when you get beyond that into the wider market, there are essentially two groups of prospects that you're going after, two types of accounts you're going after. Those that are in market and those that are out of market. The in-market people are actively looking for a solution, or they should be. In other words, they have some sort of immediate need, maybe some trigger event happened where they should be looking for a product in your category to solve their problem. But the wider group of people is out of market. These are people who are not in the market for your product right now. They don't really have a need right now. There's no pressing need to buy it. And the way you market to these two groups can be very different. So for example, with in-market, you might have intent data that tells you, okay, they have purchase intent. You see buying behavior that they're taking, and we know that they're probably going to be buying from us or a competitor. Okay, so let's focus the copywriting to them in a way that resonates. Hey, the best CRM for manufacturers or something like that. Now, out of market's a bit different. This is becoming more important when you're a larger business, because what you're trying to do there is stay top of mind. You want to increase the brand awareness. You want to increase the word of mouth so that when the need arises, you can hit those people. But usually we're more focused on short-term revenue when we're small, medium-sized businesses. We can't think in terms of the longer time horizon. So the focus is usually in-market customers. So customers that are have the potential to become a paying customer in a short time frame, such as within 6 months or something like that.